Right, yo. What up, chat? What up, peeps? Okay, let's get our early morning motivation started. Like, let's get started, chat. W's in the fucking chat, everyone. W motivation from a legend, you know, profound pondering. Let's hear what he got to say. Like, I think this was like some okay 1 year ago. Like, I feel motivated this morning. Like, feel like passing down this motivation to you all. Like,
That the main thing that stops us from sort of building an identity that we actually resonate with is how much we get attached and stuck on our unchanging self. And what I mean by that is not, just like not liking yourself when you're changing, or not liking what you change into, or not liking yourself at the moment, but not being able to let yourself go, let yourself change, embracing your own change. And I've been wanting to make a video on this for a minute because I feel like it's something that's super prevalent, especially in this current generation, not being able to allow yourself to change. And I feel like I was like this for so long. I've been like this. I feel like up until recently, which I hate to say because I like to think that I've been pretty self-conscious of myself for a while. But up until recently, I didn't really allow myself, at least in mind, to change. And I didn't understand why. And it's a lot of mental conditioning. I was reading a book called Becoming Supernatural. It kind of highlights a lot of the points of that. It's essentially,
hold on. Becoming supernatural. Have I read that book? Sounds familiar, but I don't think I've read that book.
saying that we kind of get addicted to who we are. We get addicted to the chemicals of our experiences of the past. We get addicted to who we were, um, and we just loop those over and over again. And I don't know if many of you believe in like manifestation or anything like that, but even on a fundamental level, if you're constantly replaying the same thoughts and same actions and reliving those experiences, your body's gonna keep thinking you're going through that. It's almost inescapable, and it's almost like, how can you change when the situation's occurring at the moment? How can you change when you're reliving the exact experience that got you to the point you're in right now? And I'm not saying just forget
How can you change when you're living the same experience that got you to this point? Like, that's right. Let's go back. Like, how can you change when you're reliving the same experience that
the
got you
exact
to
experience that
this
got you to the
point?
point you're in right now. And I'm not
How can you change when you're reliving the same experience that got you to this point? Like, that's some real shit. Like, I don't been through that hole before. Like, I've been through that whole like type shit, trying to like change, but trying to like change, but living that same old life. Like, nah, change ain't gonna come that way. Like, that's right.
saying just forget. That's hard to forget. Even in my experience, like there's still stuff that I hold on to that I'm constantly trying to work on. Things in the past that I didn't necessarily like how it went, or feel like I could have handled better, or feel like I just needed a little more insight or maturity to get through. But in saying that, I realized that, no change is going to occur unless I let myself go, unless we let ourselves develop, unless we make a change. And I'm not saying like intentionally change yourself. I'm not saying forget who you are and not or neglect who you were. Because I feel like once we do that, I feel like, on a fundamental level, it might be easy to forget yourself or to act different. Like I can go out and act like a completely different person, but I feel like it's those cycles. I think another YouTuber named Ryan, he talks about cycles all the time. It's like the ups and downs, but once we start feeling some way, once we start vibing a certain way, we start looping those same thoughts over and over again. And then getting stuck in those same thoughts, we relive those same experiences and we fail to grow as people.
This is the quickest way to go from AI beginner to AI fluent in 2026. Watch this. Let's be real. Most people over 40.
I think the first step in letting yourself go, the first thing that I did was stop being ashamed of my own change and wanting to get better. Stop being ashamed of trying.
This, this, stop being ashamed of letting your old self go. Come on, like, bro, that's right, that's right, that's right. Shame, shame, like being ashamed, falling for people's opinion about you. Like, bro, come on, like you changed. Like, sure, like, should I remain the same like all my life? Like, shouldn't I change? Like, shouldn't I evolve? Like, you know, even the world we live in, like, changes. Like, weather, climate, and all, like, they do change. Like, come on, that's right, bro. Feeling this shit, like, I can't lie.
New things for myself. Like I talked about it in a video like how I do affirmations. At first I was like, why would I do that? Like why would I talk to myself? Why would I say anything to myself like that? I feel like that's kind of desperate. But like one thing I realized, like you can't be ashamed of loving yourself. That's one thing you can't be ashamed of, yourself. Like you can be ashamed of your actions, this, that, and the other. But your betterment, I feel like that's something you have to sort of hold on to and appreciate regardless. And I think that's how I got to the point I'm at right now. I feel greater than I ever did. And then I read out my list of affirmations. I say stuff every morning, every night. I used to do 3 times a day, but time just not really on my side. I leave the house, my dorm at like 8 a.m. and I come back at like 10. So it gets kind of hard some days. But on those days where I can, it's important to reinforce those things in your head. Because as I said before, like those negative loops, those negative cycles of thought, you're constantly thinking these negative things over and over again. They have to be combated by something or replaced by something. You can't replace a bad habit with absence. You have to fill it in with something good. I feel like you're not gonna stop, you know, smoking or something and just instead just sit still. You're gonna find something else to fill that vacancy. And I feel like a lot of people, we have vacancies inside ourselves, and we like to fill it up with our previous experiences and our own inaction. I think people get stuck and stagnant. And I always use the quote that he who thinks the journey is over is truly lost, and that's what I mean. We're not letting ourselves continue our journey. We accept the connotation, we get comfortable with a connotation. And it's not really comfort within who we are, it's comfort with an idea. Comfort with a definition. Like I used to think myself that it was more comfortable to have definition, to have that. Not to say that I don't have a definition for myself at all, but to say that being comfortable with myself while I'm changing. And I see a couple of people like that little that bit in my last video where I talked about how you have to be comfortable with yourself while you're changing, not just at the beginning or end. You can't be too comfortable at those sides either. And when I say comfort, I don't mean like
That's right. Like, you've got to be comfortable with the changes you experience. Like, if you aren't comfortable with the changes, you wouldn't change. Like, you wouldn't want to change. Like, that's right. Like, you should love doing what you do to make a change. You know, for you to love something, like for you to grow interest in something, you should feel comfortable with doing it. You should feel comfortable in it. You should feel like you should feel uncomfortable without doing it and feel comfortable with doing it. You feel me? Like when you're not doing it, you shouldn't feel comfortable, you know. Kind of like takes you far away from the old circle, stuff like that. Channeling that energy, like you said, feeling that that emptiness, like fill it with something else instead of leaving it void. Like that's where change comes in. Like that's where you get to experience change. Like
don't be comfortable in a sense, like don't be happy. I mean, don't be comfortable in the sense that you think that's the end. Don't be stagnant. I think there's so much more to life and so much more that we can experience as people that we fail to truly appreciate just out of, you know, our inability to realize our own change and realize our own potential to change. I think that a lot of people can do a lot of great things. I see great things all the time. And I'm starting to think I was right about that a little bit. Not necessarily because of my own growth. Mind y'all, I thank y'all so much. I couldn't express in words how grateful I am to have y'all aboard and or with me. Like, I don't really know. It's a crazy experience, but like, I've been telling my friends who are kind of creative or do anything, like, just put your stuff out there. Just do it. I've been putting stuff out for 2 years, and like, it's been great every second. I just love doing it. But it's about putting yourself out there and allowing, you know, yourself to change with it. Yourself to change with the circumstance. I feel like it's too easy to not do anything. Too easy to go through your life and, you know, realize that you could have done something else. Or that maybe your passion was attainable. It's about letting yourself go to explore, but also being conscious and mindful of the implications of your actions. It's real easy for me to say, let go, acting like people don't have, their day-to-day stuff. I have my day-to-day stuff. You can't let go of your full identity. What I mean is let go of the parts of yourself that seek out change. You can't run from it. I think a lot of times we run from our problems without realizing that we're running from ourselves. Like, we're running from the parts of ourselves that need to heal from certain things. Like, I myself, I don't want to get into too much detail. I feel like I'm already pretty vulnerable, but there's things in my life that I think I have yet to overcome that I still need to. And I'm not really ashamed of it. Like, I'm still working towards it, and I'm finding new ways to work towards it. It's about confronting your problems in a way that makes you feel comfortable, but also like create enough change. Because it's one thing to just acknowledge the issue. Like, acknowledging the issue in mind, knowing that something's wrong is the first step. It's a beautiful step. I think that a lot of people don't even get to that step. So if you get there, you're halfway to the battle, man. But that other half, that figuring out the application and figuring out yourself enough to change and grow from it, is entirely different. Which is why I stress the importance of sort of knowing yourself and being present enough with yourself to know how you feel about certain things. I think a lot of our traumas and stresses can be mitigated with how we feel about them, how we connotate it in our minds. Like, I used to have a big fear of public speaking. I used to have a big fear, not necessarily a fear, of just expressing myself in public the way I am. And I think a lot of my friends and a lot of people I see on a daily basis can attest that, as the years have progressed, as I've been developing, like, my personality, I feel like, shines through regardless of the situation. Of course, I'm mindful, but, like, in not being ashamed of being yourself, like, a lot of the stress of like social interaction kind of falls out the window. Not saying that I'm not mindful of like who I'm talking to, how I'm talking to them, but in finding yourself, and which I don't think I've done, I think it's a continuous thing, but in finding out the pieces and parts of yourself, I think it opens doors to more pieces and parts. Just like how gratitude breeds more gratitude. Finding stuff to be grateful for, finding things to appreciate, it puts you on that sort of vibration of gratefulness and gratitude and love. And if you express that to yourself, that's literally all you can exude. I think I said a quote in another video, like, loving yourself so much, everything you see, everything you interact with is an exemplar of that love. You got to put yourself out there for yourself. You have to put yourself out there to yourself. Show yourself what you're capable of in a way, and show yourself that, you know, maybe it's not. Maybe let me prove myself wrong in this point. Like a couple of days ago, I'm constantly doing stuff. I've been trying to do stuff just to get myself on my comfort zone and express myself in ways that I'm probably haven't done before. Like I went to a poetry workshop where initially I was just like, I just like poetry. I'm gonna go and just sit in, listen to other people say. But once I got there, I just started writing. I wrote something, and you know, I performed it. I was nervous the whole time, but I did it. Like I was happy that I did it at the end of the day, even if I stuttered once, stuttered twice. You know, I got
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Like going out there to do something, like going out there to do something you don't normally do, you don't usually do, something new, like despite the fact that maybe there will be people there or there wouldn't be people there. Like he said, went out to a poetry, like where poetry is done, like, and there were people there, and he went there and decided to do something, like decided to like write and stuff, like type shit, like he actually wanted to go there to listen to what people are like writing and reading, but he went there and he wrote for himself. Like, come on, like even if you can't do it, just as long as you are like you are willing to do this thing, you want to do it. Like you, if you want change, you should be willing to do things you've never done before. I mean, positive things. I mean, positive can mean crazy, Positive can mean cool, chill, and all. But come on, like should be like desperate for change if you want change. Like should be willing to do whatever it takes, like in a good way.
my message out there. I got what I wanted to get out of it, and I showed myself, you know, regardless of my anxiety and how I feel about the situation, I can still move forward. It's not about how you feel, it's about how you react to your feelings. How you react to the parts of yourself that are kind of scared of the situation. And I say all this in moderation. You know, I'm not saying go into some super scary situation and just be a real tough guy. Like, oh my God, you can do anything. Of course, be mindful, be smart, but also be courageous. You know what serves you and know what doesn't, but also know what has potential to serve you. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing we do is serve ourselves. It all starts with letting yourself go, being there for yourself, treating yourself like a friend, enough to the point where, you know, you allow the parts of yourself to change. You know, it's okay to grow. It's okay to not have definition. And I think once I kind of got to that point in my own development, that I was like okay with seeing parts of myself change, because even now I still hold on to stuff. You know, I'm saying this stuff, but like, you know, truth be told, of course I'm still working on it. That's kind of how I'm able to articulate it to an extent. It's kind of my way of piecing it together. You know, of course there's still parts of myself that I hold on to that seek out change, but I'm becoming more conscious of it. I'm becoming more present with how I feel, because even if it's a part of myself that I know seeks out change, you know, I still love it enough to let it go. I still appreciate what it does for me. I appreciate, you know, feelings happy and sad. Life's only a reference to dark. Light is only a reference to dark. You know, you have to be mindful of how you are connotating certain things in your head. You know, things are bad. You know, some things are bad, some things are good. But if it's constantly looping in your head, I feel like sometimes you have to use Pascal's gamble. You know, sometimes you have to be a little delusional. I don't know if this is 100% great advice, you know, but you have to let yourself flourish. Let yourself develop. You know, I'm not saying cut everybody off and start a whole new life. I'm saying cut your old version of yourself off to the point where there's new life inside of you. And if you made it this far in the video, I don't know, thank you so much, honestly. Um, and just the way my channel has grown in the past couple of days is kind of crazy to me still. But I'm gonna continue just putting out the same kind of stuff. Uh, but thank you. Like, I'm so grateful for all y'all. Much more than appreciative of all the comments y'all leave. I read like every single one. I literally try not to let a comment go unturned, but
That's right. That's right. Like you're a real one. Like I can't lie. Like feel so motivated. Like I hope you feel motivated too. Like let's hear from Kai Senat. Like I was like, like Kai actually said something similar. Like I mean, in his recent videos. I mean, in Kai Senat's recent videos, where he popped out with the whole motivation vibe and all. They kind of like sounded similar. Like said some similar things. Like
Somebody had asked me today what to do.
yeah, this is it. Let's hear from the big dog.
Somebody had asked me today what to do when you feel stuck. And that's a good question because I ain't gonna lie, I think a lot of us in our lives at some point do get stuck or kind of have to reevaluate what we want to do or like what the move it we have to do. And it's one of the best thing is when you get stuck, bro, you have to really take time back and step back and observe everything that you've done and see where you can improve at and see where you could be better at, honestly, and just be able to match up what you want to do with what you've already done and see how you can elevate it or pivot, but not forcefully. And see where you could be better at. When you get stuck, bro, you have to really take time back and step back and observe everything that you've done and see where you can improve at and see where you could be better at, honestly, and just be able to match up what you want to do with what you've already done and see how you can elevate it or pivot, but not forcefully, more naturally. You feel what I'm saying? Like what you can do, but do it at your best of your abilities. If you feel like you could be working hard, it's 100% fact that you can be working hard. So I feel like when you get stuck, you shouldn't overthink it. You should genuinely step back. Do not panic because a lot of people will fall to panicking. I have many times, and it's not a good thing because you start to rush out whatever.
That's panicking. Like, come on, bro. Like, you are you are not the creator of yourself. Like, bro, this is our first time here. Like, we are literally babies. Like, we are all literally babies. Like, come on, even your parents, they are all babies. Like, we are all learning the system. Like, come on. If you, mistakes are normal for crying out loud. Like, you should make mistakes. You are bound to make mistakes. Like, you must make mistakes. Mistakes. Come on, don't feel you are like some supernatural being. Like, don't feel like to be the greatest. Like, you need to like accept mistakes. Yeah, I feel you. Like, I feel what Kai is trying to say here. Like, 100%. Like, accept yourself the way you are. Work with yourself. Love yourself. Don't hurt yourself because you fell into a mistake and stuff like that. Don't hate yourself because of that. Like, that's life. It's part of life. If it isn't part of life, there wouldn't be mistakes. There wouldn't be a thing called mistakes or stuff like making mistakes. Like, it wouldn't. Like, just like flying isn't part of, isn't like a human thing. There's no way you can get a human that flies like without adding something, maybe an artificial wing or maybe in a plane or maybe, you know, being attached to something flying. But you as a human being, like you can't fly. You feel me? It's not your thing for crying out like you cannot fly. Come on, man. Take it easy on yourself, bro.
And do whatever, but you should step back and really evaluate what you've already done and really accomplished and be grateful for that. And then after be able to take what you've done and see ways that you can elevate it, whether that's you reviewing the things you've done in the past, whether if it's videos, if it's I don't know, like genuine art that you probably make or paintings that you probably make, and just see where you could be different at and what makes you you. But just don't overthink. Stop overthinking. Um, And yeah, don't worry on strategizing or comparing yourself to anything else, because that's one of the worst things ever. Comparison is a thief of joy. You're going to take away from your happiness by seeing somebody else accomplish things, and that's going to make you feel bad at the end of the day if you keep worrying about that and not worrying about yourself. So honestly, when you get stuck, take your time, evaluate things, and yeah, wish for the best. This is something I always knew, but right now I am understanding it fully after reading my book on an advanced level and just seeing my progress. Repetition is very important.
One thing I should tell you guys is that you should always try to read books. Like it isn't always about your phone, the internet, and all. Like go hard copy, man. Like go hard copy. Like read through some books. I mean, some life-changing books, some motivational, some inspirational books. Like whatever type of books, like whatever type of book you want to read. Like there is always a book to read for it. Like whatever you want to do, like whatever whichever way you want to feel about yourself, there's always a book to read for that. Like take your eyes off your screen sometimes. Like go hard copy, man. Go offline.
Repetition is very important in doing whatever you want to do in life. You have to repeat it, even if it's not on a large scale, on a small scale. You have to repeat what you want to be good at in life, so that you end up being better. So you end up just getting there. A lot of times there were times where I often thought, okay, if I want to go to the gym, let me go to the gym for a full hour every single day. Um, and honestly, it gets crazy, and you kind of feel it as if it's like, oh my god, the gym. I always start to think, but if one thing, if you notice, if you take a little bit of that time and break it into parts. You feel me? I know that reading was, something that I had to eventually fall in love with doing, but I didn't really like it. But I know if I took 15 minutes out of my day of 24 hours to read, eventually I would become a reader. You feel what I'm saying? And the reason why I'm sewing my long sleeve t-shirts over and over and over, and I'm only doing t-shirts, is because repetition will eventually help me get better at sewing in general. I know I want to understand sewing on a larger scale, but in order for me to get that, I can't just go a shirt, then pants, then hoodie, then goddamn whatever. Let me focus on the shirts and let me get that down packed. Then I move over to the pants. That's one thing I noticed. I get to the long sleeve. I don't care how long it takes me to master it. I will do a long sleeve 100 times before I move on to the next item, so that by the time I'm done with the long sleeve, it becomes one of my six senses. You feel me? So I know in order to become a better speaker, I have to read every single day. I know in order to become somebody more healthy, I have to work out every single day. I know in order to become somebody who can make clothes on a larger scale, I have to sew every single day. You have to repeat these things, and of course, obviously, it will get to a point where it's boring, because it's something that you're not used to, and it's not a part of your habit system. But as soon as you make it a part of your habit system, the more you're repeating, you're eventually gonna get it down pat. You feel what I'm saying? And that's just the obvious thing, you know? The reason why we know how to goddamn make cereal so much and like the back of our hand is because we have repeated it for years, where it's engraved in our head. That's why we're so addicted to our phones too. That's why we just know everything. We just know everything and how to control video games, because we done repeated it for the longest time ever.
That's
But
right.
in those scenarios, we wasn't looking at it as a new habit or a new skill we had to develop. It was more fun because it was a lot more natural. You feel what I'm saying? But when it comes to having to actually do it and gain a skill, it's gonna become difficult. But then you ask yourself, do you stop there? I'm not even gonna lie. You technically can do whatever you want in this world. Not technically, you can.
Actually, what I got from this part where he said like repetition about how we could like make cereal at the back of our hands and stuff like that, and so like you could actually make cereal like unconsciously. I mean, like you said, from the back of your hands, like you could just literally close your eyes and make it. You could be talking to someone while doing it, and it still comes out perfect. Like it still comes out how it's meant to be. Subconsciously. In other words, like I feel like we do the most subconsciously than we do consciously. I mean, like when you set out to do something, like there shouldn't be a thing as preparation, like preparing to do this thing. I feel like you should just do it. As long as you think about it, just do it. You shouldn't be like preparing towards doing it, making arrangements towards like establishing um towards working out, towards hitting the gym, towards having a good diet and all. Like just do it. Like stop making preparations. Like the more you make preparations, the more your body feels like the more your body feels like drawing you back towards like your body feels like like your mind and your body feels like you're about to embark on a heavy task because you are preparing. Your mind is like trying to gather the momentum, the focus to like accomplish, to like establish that plan. So it's looking for all possible ways to like not make this thing work out, not make this thing happen for you because it doesn't want you to go through panic, stress, and all. So instead of thinking about doing it, instead of preparing towards doing this thing, just do it, man. Like whichever way it comes out, and do it again. Whichever way it comes out, it comes out. And the more you keep doing it, like the more you get better at doing it. Like come on, like that's how I got to this point I am like with streaming, like the whole streaming thing. Like I did it on my own. Like I'm here by myself, like sitting, in front of a camera and all. Like no one taught me shit about it. I just kept doing it, trying it, like making mistakes and all. I'm not still I'm not perfect yet, but like I'm better than how I was like months ago, years ago with this shit. Like
You can do whatever you want in the world as long as we use our time wisely. And it's something I'm realizing, bro, and it's